So at the start of day 3, there were a lot of chop pots that I played. Stacks were pretty short, so money was getting in pretty often. A really key pot for me was Sonny Fisher raised on the button. I 3-bet from the small blind with ace 10 3 4, which is not a premium hand, but against a button open and the way these guys had been folding both pre-flop and post, I think it's very profitable. 3-bet, he ended up calling, and on a flop of ace king jack, I shoved the rest in, and he called. He actually had ace queen, which was well ahead of my ace 10 at that point, and that would have sent me packing in around 15th, 16th place or so. But fortunately, the board ran out such that I hit a queen for the Broadway straight and doubled up. I have almost 1 million chips and I'm in pretty good position to final table this thing. And then I had another pot against Fisher where I raised ace queen 10 with spades. He defended from the big blind, and the flop was jack 4 deuce with 2 spades. He shoved into me. I put it in, of course, and he had 3 pair with jack 4 3 deuce. He's a slight favorite here, but I'm doing okay. Can hit my flush, can hit my ace. The board ran out king 10, giving me the nut straight, and I knocked Fisher out in 10th place, which took us to the unofficial final table of 9. It was an 8-handed tournament, but they combined the final 2 tables of 4 and 5, just because it'd be unfair to the 4-handed table that they have to play too many hands compared to the 5-handed table. So they combine it 9 to 1 table, but they don't really call it the final table, which is why it's the unofficial final table at 9. Pretty quickly, Yang Wang was eliminated in 9th. So then we were down to the official final table of 8. I was in seat 2 with David Baker to my right. In seat 1, really strong mixed game player, strong tournament player. Glad that he's on my right rather than my left. Ali Abdul-Jabbar, who I had just met, but coincidentally was very good friends with a good friend of mine from back home that I had known since, I don't know, I was probably 9. Really nice guy. He told me he's probably the only recreational player at the final table, which I wouldn't have known by the way that he played. He played pretty well. Marco Johnson to his left, another really strong mixed game player, strong tournament player as well. He's been around a while. Chase Steely to Marco's left. I did not know Chase before this event. He seemed to be playing very well from all I could tell and had quite a few chips coming into the final table. He was second in chips. To his left was Michael McKenna, who I had also not played with before this, but he had been chip leader or near chip leader for most of day 3 and really made his presence felt immediately at the final table. Kind of his demeanor, table talk. You could tell that he was going to be the table captain, pushing the table around, and you know, he brought with him, in addition to his big stack, a lot of confidence and a lot of aggression. So I knew that he was going to be somebody to worry about. To his left was Chris Lee, who is a really, really strong no limit hold'em and PLO player. I don't know about his experience so much in mixed games, but he and I have battled online for a decade at some of the highest stakes. He's just really, really sharp, good poker player and cool guy. And then Chad Power, who came in with quite a bit of chips as well. I played with him a little bit throughout this tournament. He seemed to play really, really well. Seemed to have a lot of confidence and comfort in PLO8. You can sometimes see that in the way that, like the speed that people play and the way they put in their chips, the way they announce their hands. I played a big pot soon after that. Chad raised in early position to 120. I called with ace, queen, queen, jack double suited, which is a one-way hand. I can only win high, but it's a very strong one-way hand. Folded to Marco Johnson in the small blind, and he potted it to 550, which was essentially his whole stack. He had about 600K to start the hand. If Chad continues, I think I have to fold, but Chad folded, and so basically getting 2-to-1 odds with a really strong high hand is just very easy. Jam the rest in. I was actually in pretty good shape against ace queen 4-3 with 1 suit, but he flopped the nut flush and I was essentially drawing dead and lost that pot to him, which took me down to 660, which made me the short stack at the table. And it's one of those things where every pot is so big and you can go from feeling like, wow, I'm in really good shape here with this stack to, okay, I'm probably out really soon. And that's definitely how I felt after that. I thought that it was going in soon, and you know, you can just see the board running out in that way again and busting out of the tournament. I played another pot against David Baker where I check folded on the turn, and at that point it was down to 450,000, which was, you know, very few blinds at that point. With my short stack, I was waiting for a hand to to go with. I ended up picking up ace, jack 5 for middle position and potted for a good portion of my stack. Got called in 2 spots by Ali and McKenna, and on a flop of queen 8-7, just shoved the rest in, which wasn't very much. McKenna folded and actually showed kings, so he was gonna be in pretty bad shape against me, but Ali had ace deuce 3-7 for a nut low draw and a pair, and he's actually a favorite against my hand at that point. 3 on the turn gave him 2 pair, which has me essentially dead. He's got the nut low and the best high hand, but luckily the river queen gave me aces up, and I got saved for half the pot. Lived to fight another day. And a few hands later, Marco raised to 120 in early position, got called by McKenna, and I was in the big blind, called the min raise with king 8, 4-3 with spades. And on a flop of jack 9-6 with 2 spades, I have a hand that has enough equity to go with. I have backdoor low draw, I have second nut flush draw, and can obviously hit a pair. And also jack 9-6 is one where people can do a lot of folding because just they don't have low draws. So I open pot and get called only by McKenna. There's like a 5th pot left on turn. The turn is the 8 of clubs, which gives me a pair and a low draw. I shove it in and he snap calls, says I have it. He has queen, queen, 10-9 for nut straight on the turn. So I need a flush to scoop or any low card to chop to save half or I'm out of the tournament. But ace on the river gives me that low. And I chop to survive once again. His queen, queen, 10-9 without a suit is a pretty loose pre-flop play. After seeing that hand and a couple more that he showed down like a 10-9-9-8, as well as some kind of weak like ace 6-7-5 type hands. It was pretty clear that he was going to be playing a whole bunch of hands and trying to push people around. And that's the kind of style that could allow him to, build up a really big stack, which to that point he had, or to bust out. But certainly at a final table where the payouts become so relevant and there's a pay jump every time somebody busts out, applying that pressure works very well because people buckle under it, they wait for the pay jump and they don't want to go out next. So still relatively short, but I had picked up a couple of chips. I opened from early position with ace jack 7 deuce with spades, get called by Chase Steely in late position, and the flop is 9-5-4, no spades, 2 diamonds. And at this point I have like 2x pot remaining, and I potted in. I have a nut low draw, gut shot, and ace jack high, which is not nothing. And he tanks for a while and puts it in, which is not something I'm happy about. My ace jack for high can't be that good. Obviously nut low draw is good, but it's not a high hand. And he ended up having ace 5-3-3. I turned to 3, which gave him a set, but gave me the nut low and a wheel. So really the best card in the deck with the exception of, I guess, a 7 maybe. And river bricked, and I busted him in 8th place. And at that point I was up to 2.1 million. And that took us to a dinner break. I went to dinner break feeling, kind of for the first time like, oh, I could actually win this thing. 2 million had me second in chips at the time. There were 7 players left. At that point it was getting, stacks were a little more comfortable than they had been. I didn't just have to like force it in anytime that I had a playable hand. And so it was just at that point and not before then that I really felt like, okay, I have a decent shot at this.